Welcome to the Rusted Garden Homestead. Today I'm going to show you how I actually amend my seed starting mix using worm castings and worm casting tea from Vermisterra. I've been working with them for a good 5 years. I highly recommend the product. Now you might say to yourself, why have I been talking about setting up your seed starts without any fertilizer and then just watering them every 10 to 14 days after germination with a water-soluble fertilizer? Because when I start talking about all these different amendments, sometimes it becomes a barrier to brand new gardeners. So I wanted to show you all of these plants do not have worm castings in the starting mix. They're doing pretty well. They get fed every 10 to 14 days with a water-soluble fertilizer, and I just started introducing the worm casting tea into there. I'll talk about the ratios and how I use them in a second. But all the plants that you see here are growing well, doing fine with the basic method of boiling water into your seed starting mix to kill off fungus gnat eggs, and then I just feed them with a water-soluble fertilizer after they germinate every 10 to 14 days. But this is what I like to do. The growth is good, but the growth can be a little bit better. So I use 1 to 2 cups of the Vermisterra worm castings in 12 quarts of a seed starting mix. And I also use 1 to 2 ounces of the worm casting tea in 1 gallon of water, and I kind of go back and forth between fish emulsion, worm casting tea when I'm doing the water soluble feedings. I will show you how I set it all up. Just wanted to give you the numbers now in case you don't want to watch the whole video. But again, there's 1,000 ways that you can take care of your plants, your seed starts with fertilizer. This is what I personally like to do, and I highly recommend it if you have some extra money for the budget, or you want to just try something different. And I'll explain to you the benefits of the worm castings and the worm casting tea. All right, let me get this set up. So this is how I set up my seed starting mix and my potting mix using worm castings. I am affiliated with Vermisterra. You can get a discount. I will put the link in the video description if you want to pick it up. This is pretty much what castings look like. Now, all worm castings aren't the same. These are aged and sifted, so pound for pound you're getting more worm castings in the Vermisterra products. I highly recommend them. If you don't want to use them, do some research. Make sure this is not compost and castings, because you get more compost than you do the worm castings, and that's what I want to add to this. Worm castings add the low value of N, P, and K. They add in some soil life, and they also add in growth hormones. And the growth hormones specifically work with really helping plants develop better root systems. So in here, you might see a little bit of steam. I did put in boiling water. This is 12 quarts of seed starting mix, any seed starting mix. And what I put in is anywhere from 1 to 2 cups. That's really up to you. If I'm making this for my potting up mix, I might put in 2 just to put in more of the castings. So I'm just going to put 1 in because this is going to be for my pepper seed starts, my tomato seed starts. A lot of what I'm growing right now is for videos or for some other experiments, and then you just go ahead and mix this through. I mean, if you wanted to, you could put in 1.5 cups. Just no need to go past 2 cups in 12 quarts, and really, you know, anything less than a cup makes a difference, but I've done this for years, and this is the ratio that works out really well, in my opinion, for seed starts and for potting up mix. I don't use worm castings out in my garden in the earth beds because I have plenty of worms out there, but I use them for seed starts and I use them for containers. Now, this will set up my cells. After the plants germinate, like I've been telling you in the other videos, every 10 to 14 days I water them with a water-soluble fertilizer. Maybe it'll be fish emulsion, maybe it'll be some worm casting tea. And this is a 0.1, 0.1, 0.1 NP and K, nice and low. So it's really 1 or 2 ounces per gallon. There are 2 tablespoons per ounce. It doesn't equate perfectly, but again, you don't have to be exact. And this is a quart container, so I use 1 teaspoon in there, fill it with water. I water my plants, again, every 10 to 14 days. I just want to stress the point that if you're on a budget, you can go ahead and, you know, pretty much just set this up as seed starting mix, and then you can use water-soluble fertilizer every 10 to 14 days. If you're still on a budget, or your budget's a little bit tighter, and that happens time to time, and sometimes that's just where we are, I want to respect that. My goal is to help you have a better garden. not tell you you have to use worm castings or never use chemical fertilizers. Chemical fertilizers are less expensive. They're going to take care of your seed starts, and then when you get out into the garden, you can go back to your organic ways. But my whole point is that there's a lot of different ways you can do this, but you want to stay slow and low with the fertilizer. That's why I love worm castings. Nice even NP and K, nice and low. Growth hormones, put some soil life back into there. Worm casting tea does similar things. I really like it. If it looks like your plants are struggling, you can add a little bit more fertilizer, but you don't want to over fertilize your seed starts because they're going to get damaged and it's hard for them to really recover when they're over fertilized. I hope that makes sense, and now that I taught you sort of the basics of getting plants started with the minimum, this is sort of the secret recipe that I use here at The Rusted Garden. I highly recommend it. Thanks for watching. Please check out my seed shop at therustedgarden.com and check out the video description if you'd like to pick up some of the Vermis Terra products.